There is, on one end of the spectrum, there is what we have, the standard coach. And I'm not knocking it. I love the standard coach. I use a standard Tony Robbins coach for many years. And standard coach asks provocative questions and draws all the answers out of their client. That is the job and the function of a coach. I paid a good amount of money every year to do Tony Robbins coaching for several years. The only reason I stopped is the woman I worked with, Vanessa, stopped working for Tony Robbins. But it was very basic. She just asked me the same 5 questions every single week, and it was worth every penny that I paid for it. And if, for those of you who are coaches, you know, at some point you might want to try Tony Robbins coaching, because it will make you feel really good about what you do, particularly if you learn NLP and hypnosis and add it to what you're doing. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, we have what we call therapists, right? We have therapists, and these people are working with deeper psychological issues. They might be working with traumas. They might be doing EMDR, which is an NLP-based process, and other tips and tools. Right in the middle, similar to brief therapy, is what we call an NLP coach. And most NLP coaches know hypnosis, or they are aware of it, because NLP, which is short for neuro linguistic programming, and coaching go very, very much hand in hand. And with these skill sets, I am able to not only do the coaching function with people, but often accomplish many of the things that they would go to a therapist or a brief therapist for. Now, you have to be careful how you go about doing this. Every law varies from state to state, but I will tell you, I've worked for the US government doing trauma work and teaching veteran therapists how to resolve trauma using an NLP-based technique. I also have run the Bay Area Hypnosis Center since 2002, and I'm going to show you some of the results from that in a little while, where we help people quit smoking, lose weight, and reduce stress, improve sports performance, break all kinds of other habits. And so what's really nice is that we can be kind of a full service coaching institute for our clients, because when you're coaching people, in my experience, and I've been coaching full time since 2002, I did 10 years in mental health before that, working as a case manager. And most of my coaching clients need more than just basic coaching. So if you're already a coach, maybe you've had that experience, but most of the coaching clients that I work with, they get stuck. And when they get stuck, they need something that helps to work with that other part of their mind to help them get unstuck. That's where a good NLP process or hypnosis, depending on what part of the problem you're working on, is incredibly powerful and incredibly useful. And so I'm going to talk tonight about where I use NLP, where I use hypnosis, and how I use the two of them together. And if you are not a coach and you're just interested in learning about how hypnosis can help you break a habit, overcome a limiting belief, overcome a challenge, resolve a trauma, something like that, we can talk about that. And the hypnosis class that's going to be coming up in August will be about half and half between coaches who are implementing it into their practice and people who want to learn hypnosis for themselves. But I will tell you, the 5 personality types is the missing link over 30 years of people puzzles between getting people from where they are to where they want to be. I originally got my NLP certification in the mid 90s. I also got certified in hypnosis around the same time. And I graduated from these courses with my certificates, really excited about going out and helping people. And what I discovered was there's multiple layers to really effectively helping people. And one of them is knowing, what the problem is, being able to diagnose the problem, being able to pinpoint where the change needs to occur. And there's a lot of great NLP techniques and tools to help you really get a clear, well-formed outcome, for you to take what seems like a big problem that the client has and whittle it down to something manageable that you can work with and make a shift. But I also noticed that getting clients, once I understood their problem, which was a huge learning curve, there's a huge learning curve to really understand weight loss, to really understand smoking, to really understanding stress, to really understanding other habit control. And one of the challenges that hypnotists and coaches have alike is there's so much that we can do. Oftentimes, your skill set gets quite substantially watered down. So I know some hypnotists that are great at getting people in and out of hypnosis, but they're lousy at helping people lose weight. or they have no idea how to really help someone break a habit like quit smoking or give up another habit. I have a gentleman visiting me right now from South America who's here to quit cocaine, and he's now been off cocaine for 5 days. I don't recommend you go out and you start tackling issues like that. But I'm telling you, these are high-level behavioral interventions that require understanding how that human mind really, really works and how you can get in there and help the person make a change. And it's not easy. So when I'm working with clients, there's 3 levels that I'm tracking. The first level is, what are the actual habits and behaviors that need to change? And you need to understand the intervention that you're helping your client with to know what those, habits and behaviors are that need to shift. The second layer, though, is stress and pressure. So think of the goals that you have all had or the goals that you've had with your clients. Stress and pressure is the number one thing that knocks a person off course over and over again. It's the number one thing that gets in the way. It's the number one thing that will throw you off. It's the number one thing that will cause you to do what I call the derail and bail, which gets in the way. And the number one thing that causes stress and pressure is your personality. Your personality runs like a river throughout your life. So for those of you who are in a relationship or have close siblings or close friends, so I assume you have one of those 3, you probably notice that there are certain things that stress you out that don't seem to stress out your friend or your partner or your sibling, right? And there's certain things that stress them out that don't stress you out. And that's because your personality runs like a river throughout your life. It flows in one direction. It's got its own unique twists and turns. And the areas in your life where things feel easy and you're able to make great headway, or where things feel like they come naturally to you, chances are the way you're going about it aligns with your personality. Likewise, the areas in your life where you feel like you're banging your head against the wall and you're not getting anywhere and you're swimming upstream, chances are these are the areas where you're fighting your personality. And so I created an entire course around this because I realized it was so mission critical important to take into account the unique personality that a person has when I'm working with them. So each one of you, if I was to work with you individually, one of the first things I would do in our evaluation is I would assess your number 1 and number 2, what we call personal need or personality type. And I'm going to introduce you to all 5 of them. What that would let me know is these are, for each one of them, the 4 things that will motivate and excite and entice you the most. And these are the 4 things that are most likely to cause stress, pressure, and anxiety. And so it allows me to know that whatever intervention I'm going to do with you, if I don't align it with those personal needs, it's likely to fail. What I do with one client, I might literally have to do the complete opposite with another client to get the same result. So I just, as my opener, I want to let you know, like, that is one of the most important pieces of what we're going to be discussing tonight, along with the fact that if you add hypnosis to great coaching, whether you do NLP coaching or not, it's gonna like add steroids in a good way to what you're doing. Okay, because there are some things when we're working on behavioral change that cannot be served by a conscious approach alone. Right? How many times have you found yourself suddenly in the kitchen, in between activities, looking in the cupboards and looking in the fridge, going, what am I going to eat now? And you're not even hungry. Has anyone had that experience before? Where you just find yourself doing something like that. You're like, why am I doing this again? Or if you bite nails or you have other habits, you just find yourself doing it, or you find yourself obsessing about it. And that's because the process is largely unconscious. It's out of your awareness, and there's triggers that are going off. And because of that, you don't realize you're in it until you've already crossed the point of no return. You're what we call grabbed, and your nervous system is hijacked, your amygdala is hijacked, and you're already now fighting this intense, insane craving. So when we add something like hypnosis in, what we can do is we can catch it earlier and we can head it off at the pass before you cross that point of no return. And that's something that, a lot of NLP processes even can't accomplish, and definitely basic coaching will not accomplish. So in all the programs that I do, if I'm doing a stress reduction program, if I'm doing a habit control program, sports improvement program, if I'm doing a weight loss or a smoking program, I'm always going to add hypnosis in because it allows me to very quickly recondition the nervous system to go in a different direction and make a different choice. And, I hear all the time from people like, oh, well, I tried it and it didn't work, or, I had an okay result. And like, I get that, right? But here's the thing. Getting someone in and out of hypnosis, I can teach a monkey how to do that in half a day. That's easy. What to do with someone in hypnosis, how to create a proper intervention that actually works and sticks, that is artwork. And that takes customization. And when it's done well, it's incredibly effective. And I'm going to show you some of the results that we've gotten in just a moment here. This is what I believe the missing link to transformational coaching. And like I've already mentioned, the problem with conscious strategies is they work when you're conscious of them, when you remember to do them. We make lots of plans. We have lots of ideas of things we're going to do differently. And then for most of us, our plans change radically throughout the day as different things come up and we fall back into our unconscious automatic habits, behaviors, and programs. We drive by the fast food joint and suddenly we're there again. Or we say we're not going to eat that thing and then suddenly we're eating it again. Or we say we're not going to have a cigarette and then suddenly we're obsessing about getting cigarettes again. There's a lot of stuff and a lot of patterns that are going on outside of our awareness. I'll talk about why hypnosis here in a minute. I'm going to show you some case studies. And it's the personality differences that explains why hypnosis and NLP work for some and not for others. I mentioned this before, I'm going to mention it again. What I do with one person, I legitimately, and I'll give you examples, I may have to do the complete opposite with somebody else to get the same result. So if you use a cookie cutter approach, if you're just reading a script to somebody that you got in a book or you bought at a workshop, chances are it will work with a certain percentage of people and it will not work at all with the rest of the people. So if you have tried hypnosis before, or maybe you've even tried neurolinguistic programming and you got a little bit of benefit or you got stuck and you're not sure why, this could help close that gap and explain it. Okay? Now, here's why with hypnosis, it will redirect unconscious behaviors. For those of you who know NLP, who knows the idea of a future pace? Raise your hand if you know what a future pace is or new behavior generator. Hypnosis does that on steroids. It will program your mind ultra fast. There's been so many studies, folks, that have demonstrated again and again and again. If you visualize something with feeling, which is what we do in hypnosis, and you do it right, you will build neuropathways to that new behavior. One of the classic examples is the Harvard study where they took 3 people and a piece of piano music. The first group practiced the actual piece of piano music. They measured the brainwave activity. They measured what was going on in the amygdala. They measured the neural pathways that were developed, the different parts of the brain that were activated. And it showed that this person grew this ability and this knowledge to be able to play that piano piece. The control group did nothing, and they had no development whatsoever. Nothing changed, nothing improved. The group that visualized with feeling, practicing the piano piece perfectly, grew over 85% of the same neural pathways and activated the same parts of the brain as the people who actually did the practice. What this means to you is if there's a new habit or behavior that you want to get yourself to start doing, that you want to start demonstrating in your life on a regular basis, but you can't get yourself to consciously do it yet, for some reason, maybe like public speaking, maybe you're not ready to get up in front of a group. You can start if you visualize it properly. And if you use something like hypnosis, you can start to build those neural pathways to the point where then it's easy for you to make that transition and start to do it in real life. So this is the same process that I use to help someone going from being a smoker where they feel like, oh my God, I'll never be able to live without a cigarette a single day in my life, no matter what. I've smoked for 40 years, 2 packs a day. My dad smoked, his dad smoked, his dad smoked, I'm a smoker, all this kind of stuff. And then boom, in a couple sessions, it's like they never smoked. Because what we do is we condition the mind to start to create pain and avoidance with the unwanted behavior. And we condition the mind to start to trigger a desire to do the new wanted behavior instead. And then we have them rehearse that in hypnosis. So we can use it to trigger these new behaviors at specific times. That's the other thing that hypnosis can do really, really well. If I'm working with someone who wants to lose weight, I need to catch them at the right moment to get them to change their behavior. I need to be able to grab your attention not when you're in the office with me. That's not the problem. There's no food in front of you if you're in my office. I need to be able to reach into your mind and grab your attention when you're sitting down to eat, when you're going to the all-you-can-eat buffet, when you're at your friend's house for dinner tomorrow night. I need to be able to do that. And hypnosis is the tool of choice to do that, to set it up so it creates this positive tripwire to fire off when you need it. Okay, does that make sense? Or next time you're on a break at work and you go and grab a coffee, and that used to be a time you smoked. Now I can use hypnosis to implant a suggestion that gets fired off in that moment to do something differently instead. So we can use it to trigger new behaviors. We can also use it to create aversion for old behaviors at specific times as well. Okay, and this is exactly what I've been doing over the last 5 days with my gentleman. Like I said, it's rare that I, take on a case like help someone quit using cocaine. This is a client I've known for 20 years. He came and quit smoking with me last year. I've done a number of other things with him over the years, but he, lives in Mexico. He does a lot of cocaine, and he realizes now that he needs to stop or his life is going to end pretty rapidly, and it's gotten pretty darn out of control, and he hasn't been able to control it. Not only did I do hypnosis, I customized the hypnosis based on his personality, because that makes it work better. It makes it more acceptable to the nervous system of the person I'm working with, and it makes them less likely to fight it and reject it. Okay? Anyone here have a real issue with being told what to do? Raise your hand if you don't like to be told what to do. Not everyone's like that, believe it or not. Like if you're laughing, you're probably just like me. I'm very freedom. I don't like to be told what to do. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I don't want to be told otherwise. But it surprised me to realize not everyone's like that. Some people really like to be told what to do. That's really important for some people. They don't want to have to think about it. They don't want to have to know what's going to happen next. They want someone to tell them and make the decision for them. Now, a lot of people that come to NLP and hypnosis are not going to be like that. They're going to be a little bit maybe more on the freedom side of things. But if you are like that and you don't like being told what to do, how in the heck am I going to get you to quit smoking? How am I going to get you to eat less, folks? Because I got to tell you to eat less. And guess what? If you want to lose weight, you have to eat less permanently for the rest of your life. Right? If you want to be a non-smoker, you now have to stop smoking for the rest of your life. And if you're like me, when I was a smoker, I resented and hated the non-smokers. Why would they get away with it? Why could they not smoke, but I had to? And then I thought about all the reasons why I hated smoking. The cigarette company's controlling me. I can't be okay without it. I feel so limited. I feel so restricted. Why do I have to have this? Why can they not have that? They seem to be happy. And so I would quit because I don't like being told what to do. The problem is that same personality trait would cause me to start smoking again. Because now a week later, I'm now a non-smoker. I'm now on the other side of the bar. I'm now a non-smoker, and now I'm looking over at the smokers on the other side of the bar going, why can they do it? Why can they get away with it and I can't? Why can they have one cigarette? No one's going to tell me what to do. Give me a cigarette. So I'd quit to prove I was free, and then I would smoke to prove I was free. Then I'd quit to prove I was free. Then I would smoke to prove I was free. And guess what I discovered, folks? What I discovered is my need to be free was more important than my need to be healthy. That is a scary thing to come to terms with. Okay? This is why people kill themselves with bad habits, because their personalities are running the show. And without going into depth about your personality, here's what I can tell you. It's driven by your ego and what it has decided is the most important thing you need in your life to survive and keep life going. So if your freedom in early childhood, somehow you came to the conclusion, you made a decision that if I'm not free and in control and sovereign and get to decide what happens next, something bad could happen or it won't work out as well. So that's the most important thing I need to attend to make sure I get where I want to go in life and to make sure I'm okay. For some of us, it was the need to be smart. For some of us, it was the need to belong and be accepted by others. For some of us, it was the need to feel safe and to feel secure. And for others, it was the need to feel special and unique. But whatever it is, that's what's running the show. And that's the key to understanding how you get stuck and how to unlock getting stuck. And so we use that in hypnosis. The other reason we use hypnosis, folks, is we can use hypnosis to expand the person's timeline or sense of time and increase perspective. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by this. When it comes to addiction issues, if you ask, I used to work as a dual diagnosis specialist. So I worked with chemically addicted and chronically mentally ill. And so whenever I would ask a heroin addict, what's it like to get high? They would always generally give me the same report. Well, I feel this really warm feeling and I feel this nothingness and it's like, they would describe this really, what sounded like a very beautiful experience. But what was interesting about it was they were describing the first 20 minutes of the experience. And so what I would like to do to expand their timeline is really, it's like that. That sounds amazing. It sounds incredible. Then what happens? They go, well, then, I kind of nod out and I start to lose consciousness or whatever. I'm like, oh, really? Doesn't sound so great. I go, then what happens? They go, oh, then my stomach starts to hurt and I get nauseous and I feel like I'm going to vomit and whatever. Okay. Yeah. Not so good. Then what happens? And if you keep expanding that timeline out, they get more grounded in reality. But a lot of people, when they're struggling with addiction, they have a very tight set of blinders on and they're only thinking about the moment, how it's going to feel in the moment. Same thing with smokers. Okay. I want a cigarette right now. If I have a cigarette right now, I'm going to feel better. Okay. That's what I want right now. Overeating, same kind of thing. And so one of the other tools we can use hypnosis to is expand that timeline and get the person associated into a larger time frame of reference, which helps dramatically. So one of the classic sessions I teach students how to do is what we call the future contrast. And that is where you walk your client down a road of what it's going to be like 30 days from now, 60 days from now, 3 months, 9 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, beyond, if they keep doing what they're doing. And then we walk them down the same path if they change their ways. And what we're doing is we're building those neuropathways. We're building aversion for the old behavior and we're building desire for the new behavior. So that's another thing that we can do. All right, so these are just a few of the people that I've worked with over the years, and we used NLP and hypnosis. This is Cecile. She came in, a lot of people say, oh gosh, if I quit smoking, I'm gonna gain weight. Well, guess what? She quit smoking and then immediately lost 122 pounds. She wanted to do both. She was obese, she was an ER nurse, she was smoking way too much. So that's what we did with her. Then we've got Paul. Paul came in and he had rheumatoid arthritis. He also just had a newborn son. For those of you who've had newborns, you don't get any sleep. You tend to, not eat so well. A lot of people gain weight. So he lost 58 pounds in 7 months. 3 years later, he was down 69 pounds, even more weight. Okay. And we used NLP again and hypnosis together. This is the mayor of Belmont. He came in, he lost weight so fast, the women at work thought he was sick. They all thought that he had cancer or something. And when you lose weight really fast, your skin will sag. But if you actually keep the weight off, your skin will tighten back up in most cases. Now, I know there's some really extreme 400 or 500 pound weight losses where maybe that skin doesn't eventually bounce back. But in a lot of my clients, that's actually what happened. So his goal was to originally lose 20. He ended up losing 35 pounds. He was the only client to ask me to turn it off. I said, there's nothing to turn off. You've now removed Snickers from your life, and this is the result. For him, it was 35 pounds, not just 20. This is Sabrina. I'll just show you a couple more here. She came in, her mother came in first, lost about 50 to 60 pounds, and then referred Sabrina. And Sabrina came from, what's interesting about her story is her whole family was like morbidly obese. All of them. Like when they ate breakfast, they were talking about what they're going to have for lunch. And when they ate lunch, they were talking about what they're going to have for dinner. And their whole world just revolved around food. So there was a lot of her identity. For those of you who know neurolinguistic programming, a lot of identity level stuff to work on there with her. And she ended up losing 83 pounds, kept it off for several years. This is Lonnie Ashton. He came in originally to quit smoking. He quit smoking. He was smoking 2 packs a day for 30 years. He quit smoking in 1 session. He walked out of the office, it was like he never smoked. Now, it doesn't always work this way, but I've got plenty of examples of it working exactly this way. He then came back and lost some weight as well. Lost about 25 pounds, doing great. He's still smoke free. So at this point now, it's been, I think he came in around 2002 or 2003. So you can do the math on how long it's been. Okay. Here's just one sports example. This was a guy by the name of Sam Chavez, the grandson of Cesar Chavez. For those of you who know that family in California, very famous family. He was ranked 27th in California when I started working with him. And he was having confidence issues in his head around his game. Golf's a very mental game, as you can all imagine. 3 months later, so he was ranked 27th in California. 3 months later, he beat the number one ranked player in the country during a shootout in Hawaii, which means he went head to head for 18 holes and then still beat the guy. So under extreme pressure, he then got 2 full scholarships. And 4 years later, he left school early to join the Canadian South American Pro Tour to become a pro golfer. And he would call me from the golf course and we would do a quick hypnosis session on the phone periodically just to get his head back in the right space. Last one here. Here's a real estate agent. She came in. She was originally working for Cisco doing real estate part-time. And I taught her the personality traits and how they work and how they can affect sales and the way that you're talking to people. And she was able to have a 283% increase almost immediately after taking the course to learn about these different personality types. Since then, she left her company and not only went into real estate full time, she became a broker, and she's doing very, very well doing that on her own. So let's talk about the personality-based advantage. There are 5 basic types. Okay. And so the types are freedom. The freedom person wants to do what they want to do when they want to do it. They don't want to be told otherwise. They love options, adventure, and upside potential. And their biggest stressor is feeling restricted, limited, or controlled. So that's a freedom person, right? So as you're hearing these folks now, bear this in mind. You have all 5 of these in you. You're going to be able to relate to all 5. What you want to ask yourself is, which one is the strongest in me? Which one's number 1? And which one's number 2? I guarantee you this is how you bought your last car. This is how you choose your partner. This is how you pick your job. This is how you decide what to wear when you put on your clothes in the morning. It affects every decision you have ever made. So you have all 5 and think about which 5 are strongest in you. Now, as I'm describing these 2, one way to kind of figure it out for yourself is to think about your stress. When things upset you and things stress you out, think about what about that bothers you. And when I talk about the key stressors, notice which ones get fired off the most for you. That's probably going to be your number 1 personal need. So the freedom person, their key attractors are feeling, options, adventure, upside potential. Their key stressors are feeling restricted, limited, or controlled. That is like the worst thing in the world for them. That's what they don't want to feel. The security person wants to feel safe. They want to feel secure. They want assurance. They want to know what's going to happen next. Their biggest fear is chaos, uncertainty, or risk. Then there's the belonging person. The belonging person wants to be loved, included, accepted. These are like great team members. These people just want to be included. And their biggest fear is being rejected, excluded, or unloved. That's like the biggest fear for the belonging person. Now we have like massive slide presentations on each one of these. We do a very, very deep dive in some of the other programs, but I'm just giving you kind of like a brief overview right now. Now, the next one is the competency-based person. And the competency-based person likes to be smart. They like to be competent. They love to set a goal and accomplish it. They love to take on a challenge and knock it out. And deep down secretly, they love validation and they have a strong need to prove themselves, but they don't like to admit it because it makes us look bad to admit it. So we like to be competent and we don't want to be incompetent. The biggest fear if you're a competency-based person is feeling disrespected, unappreciated, or incompetent. So again, think about the arguments you've had. Think about the people that have upset you in the past. Ask yourself, which one of these buckets do most of my complaints land in? And that's probably going to be your number 1. And then the last one is the self-expressive person. And for them, it's all about being unique, special, and different. That's what the self-expressive person cares about. They want to be unique, special, and different. And for them, if they're not totally unique and special and different and bring something totally unique to the table, there's like no point in them being there. So think of the tortured artist. Their biggest fear is being average, ordinary, or irrelevant. Now, are any of these any better or worse than the other? No, not at all. And you may not have had a choice in which one is your number one and your number two. It could have been a hand-me-down from your parents or your caregivers. It could have been how the environment rewarded or punished you as you were growing up. But I can assure you, your nervous system during that imprint phase of life made a decision. This is the most important thing for me to survive. I know that in my case, just to tell you a little bit about myself, I remember when I was young, I remember my sister one day coming to me and saying, "Robert, you're so stupid." And I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You're just naive. You're dumb." She goes, "You don't realize all your friends are stealing from you. They're not really your friends. You think they're your friends, but they're not your friends." She's like, "Where are all your Matchbox cars? Where are all your racetrack cars?" And I couldn't answer her. I didn't know. She told me, she's like, "It's because all your friends stole them." So I remember feeling like really stupid as a kid and being taken advantage of. There was even a time where my dad had bought me, he worked at the United States Naval Academy, and he had bought me this watch from the commissary, which means you can only go to the commissary if you're a military person. So he bought me this watch from like Germany or something like that for Christmas. It was just very unique. And I don't know what happened to it, but like a year and a half, 2 years later, I'm at my buddy's house and I see the same watch. And I remember at the time thinking like, "Oh my God, man, this is crazy." And he's like sweating bullets. And I go, "Wow, that's the same watch that my dad bought me for Christmas like 2 years ago. I'd never seen anyone have the same watch. How cool." And I literally thought, how cool is that we had this same unique watch? Never occurred to me he stole it from me. Like I figured that out like 2 years down the road. So in my mind, I made this decision. Okay, I need to be smart in order to survive and be okay. That's going to be one of the most important things for me. If your freedom, it could be that when you were young, you had the experience of not getting your way against your will. And see, in a normal maturing process, you don't get your way against your will and it works out beautifully. And then you go, "Oh, it's okay to have trust. It's okay to have faith in other people." And then you mature it normally. But for some of us, it went this way. I didn't get my way against my will and it ended badly. And then we made the decision, I better be in control of what happens next, because if I'm not, it's going to be bad. Bad stuff's going to happen. It's not going to be okay. Can anyone relate to that one? Yep. So those are my two main ones, is freedom and competency. So I know if I want to motivate myself to do something, if I take a look at, let's say I want to get myself to go to the gym. If I look at how going to the gym will give me options, adventure, upside, potential, then I'm more likely to do it. If I look at how going to the gym will make me feel more competent, smarter, and better in any kind of way, I'll be more likely to do it. If I also take going to the gym and show myself how going to the gym will prevent me from feeling restriction, limitation, and control, that will also further motivate me towards the gym. And then if I also take going to the gym and I show how going to the gym will prevent me from feeling disrespected, unappreciated, or incompetent, then that adds even more fuel to the fire. Does this make sense? So these are the things that we package in the hypnosis and in the NLP to make it work infinitely better. Okay. Now I use NLP processes to get the breakthrough. So if there's a limiting belief, if there's some unconscious thing blocking the person, I might use an NLP process like a 6-step reframe. If there's a trauma, I'll use the NLP trauma process to resolve the trauma and shift it out of the nervous system. So if there's things blocking a person, I'll often start with an NLP process to do that. But then when I want to, now we have this neutral, fertile ground. So let's say that we get someone who comes in and wants to lose weight, but they were raped in college. And ever since then, they've been 50 pounds heavier because it keeps people away. We got to go in and resolve that trauma. I'll use an NLP process to do that. But now this person is in this like new territory phase of like, okay, well, they still have their old habits and behaviors. Those are still knee-jerk reactions for them to do anytime they feel stressed and anytime they feel a little bit anxious, even though the main kind of block is gone. At that point, that's where I'll apply hypnosis to start to condition that new way of behaving. And in the example I'm going to show you here, folks, in a minute, is one of my favorite suggestions for weight loss. And if anyone wants to use it for themselves, you certainly can. And it's called leave 2 bites. So when you do hypnosis artfully with people, you set it up so they have the experience of it working and they have the experience of getting a powerful win. When you begin a hypnosis program, you want them to self-confirm it's working very, very quickly. So I use what we call self-reinforcing suggestions in the beginning. And again, most hypnosis classes don't teach this stuff. They teach you a bunch of inductions. Here's how to go into hypnosis. Here's how to come out. But they don't teach you how to do it professionally. Realize, folks, I had a 3 treatment room office from 2002 all the way up until 2000 and well, basically until COVID. We shut it down during COVID. So we had the office for 17 and a half years. It started smaller and then it grew and it was a huge office. And I saw up to 20 people a day. Really, actually, one time we did 24 people in a day for 1-hour hypnosis sessions. We call it plate spinning. I don't recommend that you do that. That was very stressful. I can't do coaching that way, but I could do hypnosis that way because of how we did it. My only point being, I saw a lot of hypnosis clients every week. We're talking 50 plus sessions a week for years, because a lot of hypnotists, their idea of being fully booked is 4 or 5 people a day. Okay. I was doing a lot more than that for a lot of years. And we were seeing people that were coming in off of newspaper ads, television ads, radio ads, off the internet, people who knew nothing about hypnosis at all. And people who were often very skeptical about what it was and how it worked. They might be answering the ad in a newspaper to just simply quit smoking. What I teach when it comes to teaching hypnosis to coaches is I teach what works realistically at scale and volume where you can actually make a living doing it and not burn out and not go nuts and go crazy. Standard Ericksonian type hypnosis, which is really beautiful. It's great. I love it, but it's not really practical to see 15 clients in a day and not be absolutely drained at the end of it. Plus, you get a lot of people asking for refunds, because the one thing about Ericksonian hypnosis is it's often unclear when you're going in and when you're coming out. And let me tell you something, when people come in off the street for hypnosis, they want hypnodrama. They want to know they're hypnotized. They want to be absolutely certain they're hypnotized. So back to the self-reinforcing suggestion. Here's an example of one. So in a weight loss program, one of the first things I'll have them do is I'll suggest to the client, because many people eat too much. Many people eat until their plate's empty, or many people eat until the serving's gone. So God forbid if you go to Cheesecake Factory or Red Robin, you're going to eat what they give you. And one of the big problems we have when it comes to weight loss is we want you to be conscious of how much you're eating and conscious of when you stop eating. I don't want Red Robin's or Cheesecake Factory or the smorgasbord all-you-can-eat buffet in Vegas to decide when you're done eating. I want you to decide. And so I need to wake you up and get you to be conscious at the end of the meal. I also know that the average person who leaves 2 bites of food on their plate at the end of each meal will lose, on average, about 20 pounds in a year. Somewhere between 17 and a half pounds and 22 pounds, depending on height, weight, whatever, but it is a substantial amount of weight that you can lose from that one habit alone. So in a program like this, what I do with clients is I suggest that we're going to make one little habitual change, and we're going to make one with the low-hanging fruit that you can live with, and then we're going to start to stack them, and each change will be worth maybe 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds. You stack just a few of those, and pretty soon, within a year's time, they've got all the weight that they want to lose. So what is great about Leave 2 Bites? Well, number one, we know you're going to lose weight if we get you to eat 2 less bites of food. But more importantly, it's genius because if you leave 2 bites of food on your plate at the end of each meal, you have to be conscious to do it. That means you're choosing to stop instead of waiting, checking out and waiting till the plate's gone. I remember one time I was driving on a cross-country trip with my wife and my 2 kids, and we made the huge mistake of buying a jar of peanuts. I don't know if everyone's ever done this. Dry roasted peanuts, salted, by the way, too, which makes them extra yummy. And I opened up the jar, cracked it, and I started eating it. A few minutes later, I go to get some more peanuts, and they're gone. And I look at my wife, I'm like, hey, who ate all the peanuts? What happened? And she looked at me and she goes, are you kidding me? She goes, you ate them all. And I'd eaten the whole thing. I didn't even notice it, which means I didn't enjoy it. And it wasn't even that fun. And honestly, I felt kind of gross afterwards, but like I wasn't conscious. I was just eating and eating and eating. And when your blood sugar gets jacked, folks, we'll do that kind of stuff with certain types of foods. We'll eat way more calories than we ever need. So anyway, I digress. So what I did was I gave the client the suggestion. From now on, when you get down to a quarter of your plate of food or less, you'll push the plate away, leaving at least 2 bites or more on the plate. This will be an instant sign of success. This will be proof that you're responding to hypnosis and to suggestion. And it will be a sign that you're going to reach and maintain your ideal weight, shape, and size. So guess what happens now every time the person pushes the plate away? It self-reinforces that the hypnosis is working, that I'm responding to suggestion, that it's successful. Does that make sense? So I use suggestions like this in the beginning of a program, and they're incredibly powerful because not only do they work and help the client make progress towards their goal, but they're self-reinforcing and they build the belief that I'm in hypnosis, it's working, and I'm getting the result. And there's a whole bunch of other things we do in hypnosis that should be done to convince a person, like suggestibility tests, making your eyes heavy, making your arm heavy, salivate, having you count down from 100 and the numbers disappearing. There's all kinds of other tests that a lot of hypnotists don't do that you should do that help someone know that they're in hypnosis. So now here's what I want to know. I've discussed the 5 personal needs. What are yours? Who thinks they know their number 1? Lisa Marie. What do you think is your number 1?
I would say belonging.
Really? And why do you say belonging?
Well, when you asked the other thing, another question before you detailed all 5, you said something about think about your stress, like what things cause you the most stress, or what the thought of what causes, and it was like, I literally like that wrote loneliness. So that when you went to the personalities, yeah, there are some that really jump out at me for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that one's the biggest.
Well, but say more about that.
Um,
And has that been true your whole life?
yeah, well, I probably never wanted to admit it, but I had a lot of childhood trauma that sort of lended itself toward me being isolated and separated from, say, my siblings and other things. And then relationship things that followed in my life that kind of followed same patterns.
What do you think is your number 2?
That's a toss-up. Competency, maybe?
Okay, so let me ask you this. What's more important to you? If you had to choose right now, you're at work, you got 2 options. They respect you or they like you, but you can't have both.
Oh, well, at work, respect.
What about at home? What about in personal relationship? What would you rather have, like or respect?
Like.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a different read on you, but for the sake of time, yeah. Now I'm open to that. The thing is too is I would ask you more about the loneliness as well. Okay. Now it could be that belonging's like right up there. Belonging's super, super important to you. But what you're going to find out, folks, is when it comes to personality traits, they don't change. They're not contextual. In NLP, for those of you familiar with the concept of a meta programs are contextual. Real personality traits aren't. Now, oftentimes we arrange our life to satisfy our personality traits. But like if you're freedom and competency, you're that way everywhere. That really is one of the most important things. Doesn't mean you don't get really lonely though.
Well, I know you didn't like the comment too much about landmark, but when I did the strong suits exercise, my strong suits were, and if anybody's ever done this, I just love this exercise. It was so powerful. My first one was I had to be perfect. That was my earliest one.
Yep.
My next one was I had to be sexy. I know. And the third one was that I had to do it. I had to do it alone. I was on my own.
Yeah. So that fits competency. But what you're doing is you're validating the competency read, basically. I
Yeah,
want to
when
go
I said that,
perfect.
I realized that because the first thing I said was perfect, and that was
Yeah.
my earliest.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So is it Aryan? How do you say your
I
first
am
name?
from Chennai, India. So,
What do
okay,
you
early morning was for me. Anyhow, I'm rushing up for office, so I thought of catching up with you for 1 hour. And as you rightly say, my first I lose what you call the freedom. I'm a bit obsessed with it. Stability part is what you call, it matters for me. Otherwise, I'll be a way off. Actually, stability matters to me at some extent, but otherwise, belonging also matters to me. And competency is actually I'm not that obsessed with competency. In work, I'm very obsessed with competency, but it's not that I'm chasing goals because I'm more of picking up time. Whatever comes, I'll just pick it up and go with that. I'm not goal. I need to hit this target. That is not how I do it actually. Okay, I'm able to apply that with my team, but not personally with me. So that is there I'm actually not personally goal obsessed because freedom is so valuable for me. Okay, so the goal is actually second one for me, or third one. It's the third tier. It's not the
Okay.
first one.
Hold on. It's a mouthful here. I want to hear what you're saying and take it in. Very slowly. Which do you think is your number one? Is it freedom?
Freedom, yeah, freedom.
Okay, yeah. Now again, we have all of these. But if freedom is number one, what that tells you is the need to have options, freedom, choice, upside potential, adventure. That will be the first thing that you will look for when making a decision. Julia.
I'm curious that it's through the challenges with some of these things that we're talking about, whether like my journey to like eating plant-based or with the whole competency thing and getting like degrees nonstop. So my question regarding the hypnosis, like I feel it's the journey where and kind of again the challenge with all of this that allowed me to learn a lot about myself and kind of transform a lot of these things. Do you feel like the hypnosis almost too easily bypasses the challenge
No, it doesn't
or
bypass the challenge.
okay.
It doesn't. The only way I'm going to get you to quit smoking is if I convince you that smoking does not work anymore. I still have to convince you. The hypnosis just makes it faster. It does not eliminate the struggle that builds character, if that's what you're referring to, in any way, shape, or
I
form.
mean, kind of like that alignment ultimately with the soul versus the personality, kind of that friction. So we don't feel like it makes it almost too easy to, let's say, lose weight versus actually building the self-control and the realizations and other things that like take time versus, okay,
Well,
stop
let me ask
eating.
you a question. If you could speed up the time it takes to build self-control and the realization that like eating less is healthier, would you
Mm,
like to speed that up? See, what you're presupposing is that there's some value
in
in
the
some
struggle.
struggle. Yeah, and listen, you're
Yeah.
going to struggle anyway. If you do a weight loss program, you're still going to struggle, but the deal is it's going to be more manageable
Mm,
and less daunting than it would be on your own. And for a lot of people, they can't quit smoking on their own. They can't change their eating habits on their own because there's too much happening outside of their awareness that they can't get a
mm,
handle on, right? Think about trauma. For those of you who have traumas from the past, you don't even know where they're coming from. All you know is in certain situations, you get triggered and you get so
yeah,
unresourceful that you can't think clearly. Virginia
yeah.
Satir said there's four primary coping mechanisms for stress. There's blaming, placating, computing, and distracting. And when our personal needs get violated, so if your competency and I start pressing the disrespect, unappreciated, incompetent button, then you're going to go into a coping mechanism for stress. Your nervous system is going to shut down and go sympathetic. And the minute it goes sympathetic, reason and logic won't work. Your plans are out the window. You can't think clearly. We can't reason with you. It's like trying to send an email and there's no internet connection. The only way you can make a change is to keep your nervous system open and parasympathetic. So we're using the personal needs in the hypnosis to keep the person parasympathetic so that we have a chance to change and to start to reprogram this stuff. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
in any character building aspects or anything like that by using hypnosis. What you're doing though is you can use it to break a 20-year, 30-year, 40-year habit and actually be successful breaking it. And it's still going to take effort. It's still going to take discipline. You have to listen to your hypnosis. Let me tell you this, folks. Back in, I think about 2008, I had an app built. Maybe it was a little bit later, but it was like early 2000, maybe 2012, somewhere between 8 and 12. We had an app built. The reason I had the app built was my admin, my full-time admin at the time was a personal trainer. And I came out of the office one day and I said, I don't know what's up with Mrs. Jones. She goes, what do you mean? I go, she says she's listening to the hypnosis, she's doing the work, and she's just not losing weight. She's doing the full program and she's not losing weight. I can't understand why it's not working. And my admin said to me, she goes, did it ever occur to you that maybe she's lying? And it never occurred to me that maybe she was. So I had this app built. And instead of giving the clients physical CDs, we shared with them this app that they had to use to listen to the hypnosis through their phone. And it measured how often they listened and for how long. And so I had data on exactly, if you were in a program, I knew exactly how many times you listened to Remember to Breathe. I knew exactly how many times you listened to, Leave 2 bites or Water Before Snack. I knew exactly. And here's what I discovered. 100% of the people that were successful were listening regularly. And we're not talking like 100%. We're talking like 65% and above of what I was asking them to do with some regularity. 100% of the people that were not getting results were not listening. And I had people look me straight in the face and say, Robert, I don't know what it is. I really like you. I like the program. It all resonates with me. I've been listening religiously and I'm just not getting the results. And then we'd look at the data and they hadn't listened to it even one time. And so that gave me a lot of confidence in the program because 100% of the people that listened with even a mediocre amount of regularity got a great result. But it's like chopping down a tree, folks. Good hypnosis is like chopping down a tree. You got to keep swinging that axe until the tree falls. And when I first started doing hypnosis, I would put everything in the kitchen sink into a hypnosis session. I now know that's a bad idea. We don't do that anymore. So what we do now is we focus on one habit at a time and we drill that habit in until it clicks. And then once it clicks and the behavior shifts and it locks in, then we add the next one. Then we add the next one. And I've got a series of those for smokers, series of those for stress, series of those for weight loss. And even though I have automated programs that people can listen to, what I do in a program is I customize them. Here's what we're going to do now. I want to show you how we would customize one of these suggestions, just one suggestion based on these personality types. And then I want to talk to you about hypnosis. So this, folks, is an example of how we would adjust a suggestion based on the personality of the client. So, like I'm doing massive amounts of custom hypnosis these days with clients based on these differences. Before I go into this particular one, so oftentimes when I'm doing an evaluation, I'll draw the contrast between the security type person and the freedom type person. The reason I do that is because what I do with one will bomb with the other. And what works great with the other will not work for the other one. So let me give you a quick example of this, okay? So, and you can think about where you are on the spectrum. One of these will resonate more with you. One of these will resonate less. So on one end of the spectrum, we have the freedom-based people that we've already talked about. These people want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. They don't want to be told otherwise. They want options, adventure, and upside potential. And they hate feeling restricted, limited, and controlled. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have security-minded people. Security-minded people want to feel safe. They want to feel secure. They want to know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, who it's going to happen with, how long is it going to last, when's it going to end. They want assurance and safety. So as you can imagine, with the security-minded person, to give them an intervention, it needs to be specific. It needs to be detailed. It needs to be step by step. It needs to be absolutely crystal clear, and there can be no deviation. Does that make sense? That's what they need to keep their nervous system open and go, I'm going to be okay. I can get through this. So we have to present it to them in that way. But if I took that approach and I gave it to the freedom-oriented person, it would be like bad elevator music in solitary confinement. They would go nutso. It would be way too restricting, way too limiting, and they would rebel and sabotage almost instantly. Because the freedom person wants a choose your own adventure, highly customizable a la carte approach where they can go, I like this, I don't like that. They need lots of wiggle room, lots of freedom to make it their own. Otherwise, they get stressed and clamped up. So to keep them open, it's got to be very open-ended, very loosey-goosey, very choose your own adventure. Now, imagine if I took that approach and then tried to give it to the security-based person. It would be like waking up in a dinghy in the middle of the ocean with no land in sight and no compass. They would have a meltdown. They're going, I don't know what to do with this. Okay? Multiple choice, essay answer. Two totally different types of people. And so this is what I mean when I legitimately tell you, and this is why a lot of programs end up not working for people, because the coach who means well is doing the same thing with every person that walks through their door, and they're not adjusting their approach. So if you're a therapist, you can do this. If you're an NLP coach, you can do this. If you're a hypnotist, you can do this. But this is like a major, major piece of behavioral change puzzle. Okay? So in hypnosis, if we're using the example of leave 2 bites, okay, for a freedom-based person, because they love to be in control and have lots of options, we might, and this, by the way, is what's called the ultimate hypnosis suggestion formula. This is one of the things I teach in the hypnosis program, is how to construct this. It's a very specific structure. You're not limited by this, but it's a great way when you're starting out, you basically fill in the blanks to do it. And it always starts with because I am, right? And so because I am free to choose what feels best for my body, all right, that's freedom. And I love the adventure of trying new things. Like a brave explorer finding new paths, when I get down to a quarter of my plate of food or less, I easily push the plate away, leaving at least 2 bites or more. I do this knowing I have complete control over my choices because it feels good to have such amazing options for my health. It feels wonderful to be truly free. Okay? For those of you freedom folks, do you see notice how that feels? Okay? All right, so now let's compare that to how it would feel for the security person, the complete opposite. Okay? Because these people want to feel safe and secure. Because I am building a safe and secure future, and I like the comfort of a clear plan, like a strong shield keeping me safe. When I get down to a quarter of my plate of food or less, I calmly push the plate away, leaving at least 2 bites or more. I do this knowing I'm protected from future worries and building a dependable habit. Because it feels good to have such peace and protection. It feels wonderful to be completely secure. Okay. Anyone security-based on here? You know for sure you're security-based? Okay. Wendy, how did that one sound to you? Unmute yourself, please. There you go. Now you're unmuted.
I'm used to my my laptop, and I died right before the class.
Yeah.
So with the security-based one, absolutely. The freedom, I felt myself like starting to sweat when you were going over the freedom, and when you mentioned the dinghy, I was like, yes, that is definitely me. I'm security.
Yep.
Yeah, the structure.
Beautiful. So the examples we have here, folks, and you've got this document now. I've got an example for belonging, a competency, just to give you just a little sample, a little mooge-booge of how we would alter this based on the person. So what I'd like to do now with the time we have left is let's do a hypnosis session. And so this is a generalized session where I'm drilling in one suggestion and one suggestion only. Okay. And I want to be transparent with you about the suggestion beforehand so you can decide if you want to do it or not. This is when I'm teaching this induction, I'll often use this suggestion. So this is kind of a good for everyone. Now, If you're in my office, we could customize this for you a little bit more. But the main suggestion is, because I'm confident and capable, like an Olympic gold medalist, when I make a decision, I take immediate action and perform at my peak in all situations, because it feels good to be confident and capable. It feels good to be focused, energized, and successful in achieving my goals. This is something I taught in self-hypnosis for high achievers. That's one of the bonuses I'm going to offer you tonight if you sign up for the professional hypnosis certification. And just to show you how the ultimate suggestion formula works, this is, here you can see in the red, this is the standard template, and then you literally fill in the blanks, okay? So if you decided you wanted to eat less, if you decided you wanted to exercise more, you could construct a suggestion like this. Now, we have bigger templates. We explain how to do each one of these little pieces. But once you take the course, you just simply fill in the blanks with these. And this is like an identity statement. This is a metaphor, because metaphors access the unconscious mind. So they're just really awesome and powerful. And then there is a trigger when I make a decision, or when I get down to a quarter of a plate of my food or less, or when I reach for a snack, or when I reach for a cigarette. Then there's the action we want them to do instead. And then there's a reinforcement, because it feels good. We're accessing a good feeling with doing the new behavior. And then we're reinforcing the identity statement. Okay? So that's kind of just to give you an idea how that works. There's a lot of science in there. So is everyone okay with getting that suggestion tonight? So I'll help you be a little bit more effective this week. Okay, great. So I'm going to start with what's called a quick Elman induction. And so this is an induction that I often use in hypnosis. It's very fast. It's very thorough. And the first thing we're going to do is have you close your eyes and imagine your eyelids are getting heavy. Now, I haven't given you an introduction to hypnosis. If I was taking you on as a new client, I would always do that first. But here's what I'll tell you. Hypnosis is like a contract between two people. We both have a part to play. My job is to give you the suggestions and therapies I know will help you enter the state of hypnosis where your mind is more open and more receptive. I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. If you don't like my suggestion, you will reject it. If you don't like me, you will blow it off. But if you focus your attention and you use your imagination on the suggestion that I give you and imagine it's happening, you will start to feel it. The more you imagine it, the more you will feel it. Everyone understand that? So focus your attention, use your imagination on the suggestion that I'm giving you. If you check out and you're checking email and you're doing other things, don't expect to have as quite a profound experience. Also, the more you do hypnosis, the better you will get. So we will send out a replay of this. You can take yourself through this session again. The more you do it, the better you get, the faster you'll go in, the more receptive and responsive you will become. But in my experience, if you are willing to play with me, you will be able to start to respond to some of the suggestibility tests I'm going to give you in the beginning. The very first one will be to make your eyelids heavy. So when I start to suggest that your eyelids are getting heavy, I want you to imagine what it would feel like if they're getting heavy now. Where would you feel it first? Maybe you remember the last time your eyes were really heavy and you're having a hard time staying awake. If you start to step into that, you'll start to feel it. If you go, let's see what this guy's got, then that's a very different type of experience. So focus your attention, use your imagination, want it to work, expect it to work. And if we get a little bit of response, that's already a response. And that's more than sufficient. And over time, you get better and better at it. Okay? So with that said, like I said, we're going to start with making your eyes heavy. We call this eye catalepsy. And we're just going to have you imagine that your eyelids are getting heavy. So let me take a note at the start time here. So Patricia, let me know when you can hear the background music. Give me a thumbs up, folks, if you can all hear the background music. Yep. Okay, beautiful. All right. So when you're ready, folks, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and take a big deep breath in. Hold it, close your eyes down, and exhale slowly. Just continue to breathe in deeply and exhale slowly. Deep breathing is the doorway between the body and the mind, and it's the body's natural signal to relax. You can control it when you want to, but then you can forget about it and it knows exactly what to do. Notice with your eyes closed, this is very similar to how hypnosis feels. You should not expect a blackout. At first, you may be more aware of some things than you were before. Sound of airplanes or cars going by in the distance. Sounds outside the room. Sounds inside the room. And thoughts or feelings that may drift through the mind automatically. And you can just bring your attention back to the sound of my voice, as if repeating each word I say now. Let's begin. Now, with your eyes closed, gently roll your eyeballs slightly upwards and relax the muscles around the eyes to the point where they are so relaxed they just won't work. And pretend you can't open them, even though you know full well that you could if you really needed to. And as long as you hold on to this relaxation, you can pretend they just won't work. And when you're sure they're so relaxed that they just won't work, then and only then you may begin to test them to make sure they won't work. Notice the eyebrows move easily, but the eyelids are heavy and stuck tight. In fact, the more you tug at them, the tighter they become. That's right. Now relax the eyes and go even deeper. Let this feeling of relaxation begin to flow through your whole body, from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes. Now in a moment, I'm going to have you open and close your eyes. And when you close your eyes, that's your signal to let this feeling of relaxation spread even deeper. If you find your eyes are too heavy or stuck shut, you can just pretend to open and close them when you need to. And all you have to do is want it to happen, and you can make that happen very easily. Okay, now open the eyes, close them right back down, and feel that relaxation flowing through your entire body, from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes, taking you much deeper. Each time you do this, you relax even more. Every time you open and close your eyes, you'll feel that relaxation spread even deeper. Open the eyes, close them right back down, 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 relaxing even deeper now. That's right. Open the eyes, close them right back down, deeper, deeper, deeper. Next, we want your mind to be as relaxed as your body is. So in a moment, I'd like you to start counting backwards in your mind from 100 when I ask you to. Each time you say a number, deepen your mental relaxation. With each number you say, your mind will become even more relaxed, letting all stress and tension drain from your mind and body, leaving you deeply relaxed. By the time you get down to the mid or perhaps low 90s, you'll be so relaxed the numbers won't be there. They will disappear. They will simply be gone. And when all of the numbers have disappeared, or you're simply too relaxed to continue counting, Simply nod your head yes and relax even deeper. Start counting from 100 now in your mind and watch them disappear. Double your mental relaxation and watch them start fading. Now watch them disappear. Notice the pleasant feeling of watching and letting them go. Let them disappear. That's right. And when all of the numbers have disappeared, or you're simply too relaxed to continue counting, simply nod your head yes and relax even deeper. That's right. Now, I want you to repeat the following suggestion along with me in your mind with certainty and conviction. You don't need to say it out loud, but repeat it in your mind with certainty and conviction. Because I am confident and capable, like an Olympic gold medalist, when I make a decision, I take immediate action and perform at my peak in all situations. Because it feels good to be confident and capable. It feels good to be focused, energized, and successful achieving my goals. Take a deep breath in and let it out slowly now. Again, because I am confident and capable, like an Olympic gold medalist, when I make a decision, I take immediate action and perform at my peak in all situations. Because it feels good to be confident and capable. It feels good to be focused, energized, and successful achieving my goals. Take another deep breath in and let it out slowly now. Again, because I am confident and capable, like an Olympic gold medalist, when I make a decision, I take immediate action and perform at my peak in all situations. Because it feels good to be confident and capable. It feels good to be focused, energized, and successful achieving my goals. Take another deep breath in and let it out slowly now. I'm going to do this 2 more times. Because I am confident and capable, like an Olympic gold medalist, when I make a decision, I take immediate action and perform at my peak in all situations. Because it feels good to be confident and capable. It feels good to be focused, energized, and successful achieving my goals. Take another deep breath in. Let it out slowly now. Last time. Because I am confident and capable, like an Olympic gold medalist, when I make a decision, I take immediate action and perform at my peak in all situations. Because it feels good to be confident and capable. It feels good to be focused, energized, and successful achieving my goals. That's right. Now in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 all the way up to 5, and on the count of 5 and not before, your eyes will open only after you made all the adjustments on the inside to feel wonderful about the changes you've made here today. Looking forward to discovering more about hypnosis and learning how you can take power and control over your life, your habits, and your behaviors in a way that works just right for you. 1, by the time I reach the number 5, you'll be completely alert. 2, speeding up now, feeling great about yourself and excited. about what you're going to learn next. 3, wanting to be more alert now, looking forward to the rest of your day or evening with a positive and curious attitude. 4, almost entirely alert, awake, and refreshed. 5, eyes open, wide awake. All right, welcome back, folks. Very good. Get a little chariots of fire in the background there. Okay, so now let me tell you something. That's a basic hypnosis induction. What we did was I took that really simple suggestion and I just drilled it through 5 times. Okay. Now, if you listen to that, I'm going to see if we can cut the audio. If you take that and you listen to that once a day for about 20 to 30 lessons, so you could do like twice a day even, but if you take that one thing and you drill that in, what you're going to notice is you're going to take actions more quickly when you make decisions, and you'll have a lot less hesitation. That's what that would be good for. So it's precision, it's strategic, but it's designed to get you, when you make a decision, to take quick action, because this is a very common place where people get stuck, where they delay, they defer, they struggle with that. And it's one of the first things I did with people in the Self-Hypnosis for High Achievers program. So we did that, okay? Now, let me ask you this, folks. How many minutes, without looking at your clock, how many minutes did it feel like? I'm curious. Wendy said about 5 minutes. Yeah? Judith said about 10 minutes.
Be like half an hour or so.
Julia said like about a half an hour. Tony said about 30 minutes. Lisa said 5 to 10 minutes. Notice everyone said a little bit differently.
7.
Yeah. Okay. 7 minutes. Yeah. So it was 13 minutes start to finish. So for some of you, it was a lot longer than you thought. For some of you, it was maybe a little bit shorter than you thought. A common side effect of hypnosis is what's called time distortion, where you lose sense of time a little bit. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you about the hypnotic phenomena that we did. And don't blurt it out. Don't put it in the chat. But I'd like you to raise your hand if you remember what the very first hypnotic convincer I did with you tonight was. Don't signal, Judith. Okay? Does anyone not remember what it was? The very first one. Is anyone confused about what the first one was that I did with you? The first hypnotic test. Raise your hand if you're confused. Wendy's a little bit confused. Lisa's a little bit confused. Yeah, Olga's maybe a little bit on the fence. So Judith, go ahead and unmute. What was the first one?
Opening my eye, or
Close. The
Yeah.
first one, folks, and I want to point out, I told you what it was going to be 3 times before we started. It was to make your eyelids heavy. Remember that? Eye catalepsy. Okay? And so a lot of times what happens is, as we go through hypnosis, we start to develop mild amnesia for some of the things that we did. This is why my first 5 years of practicing hypnosis professionally, I didn't review the phenomena. I just assumed you remembered. And most of the time people remembered very little, or they would remember incorrectly, or some wouldn't remember anything at all. So it's always really important part of the hypnotic process to review it at the end. So how many people forgot that the first one was just to make the eyelids heavy? We rolled the eyeballs up and it got heavy. How many people kind of did that slip your mind a little bit? Yeah. Now, the thing is, when I tell you what it is, it'll come right back to you. Okay. Now, what was the second one that I did right after that? So the first one was just to make the eyelids heavy. What was the second one? Judith, try again with the same answer. That was open your eyes, close your eyes. Okay. How many people noticed when you did open your eyes, close your eyes, it kind of felt like taffy pulling a little bit, right? Some of you, your eyebrows went like this, but your eyes stayed kind of closed. They didn't really open much at all. That's called fractionation. And the reason we do that one second is it reinforces the feeling of the first one. It shows you how the eye catalepsy works in the first one. And let me point this out, folks. With this induction, you were responding to suggestion in less than a minute. I just want to point that out. This is how easy it is to go into hypnosis. Okay. And I assure you, the more you practice it, the better you'll get. But within a minute, most of you were already responding to one of those first 2 suggestions. Okay. Now, raise your hand if you cannot remember what the third one was. Judith can't remember what the third one. Wendy, Lisa, Ray. Olga, you think you know what the third one was? Can you unmute yourself?
Was it breathing?
Was it what?
Breathing?
Nope. What was the third one?
Oh, the rolled eyes, like eyeballs.
No.
Hmm.
Julia.
Numbers or
It was
no?
number countdown. How many people forgot that we did a number countdown? We had you count back from 100. Anyone forget that one? Yeah. We had you count backwards from 100 going down. Okay. So these are just a couple examples of some of the hypnotic tests that we do. If we did a full session, we would do heavy arm. We might do amnesia on the hand. There's a whole bunch of other ones that we can do as well. Okay, great. So that's what it's like, folks. Now, real quick, we're just going to finish up here. That's not the most creative script, but it's that drilling of that one suggestion 5 times. You're going to remember being like an Olympic gold medalist. You're going to remember that when you make a decision, you're going to take immediate action. I promise you. And so if you listen to that one regularly, that will work for that one particular move. So when you're integrating hypnosis into your coaching or your personal life, what it does is it preemptively conditions the clients to focus on results, not a technique. So one of the ways we get people ready to do either NLP or hypnosis is when I take clients on, I say, hey, look, I want you focused on one thing and one thing only, results, not the technique. Sometimes I would joke them. I'd say, if I could hit you in the head with a plunger and get the result you wanted, I'd save us both time and money, and I would just do that. Of course, it would be a clean plunger. But like the point is, I want you focused on the result, not the technique. Okay, you're not here for technique. You're here to get a result. And so when they do that, they don't care if I use hypnosis, if I use NLP, or if I use something else. We also creates a pattern interrupt with unconscious behavior, triggers a new behavior. We talked about that. Add hypnosis sessions to your structure of your program, or you can add it as a bonus. So when people go through my stress reduction program, generally I give them a library of 3 hypnosis that's like in a folder, and they listen to it at home. It's value added to their program, but it gives more value to the program, and it makes the program work better. Because again, it helps them condition in those new ways of responding that we're working on in the office together. And then you can use it to customize hypnosis. Here's how you can learn this. We've got the professional hypnosis certification. So this is the part where if you don't want to hear about it, you can split. I won't be offended. But the professional hypnosis certification, it starts August 28th. It's going to be 10 online modules. You will get double certified in hypnosis through the National Guild of Hypnotists. I am a board certified hypnotist through the National Guild of Hypnotists. I'm also a certified trainer for the National Guild of Hypnotists. So I can certify you through the National Guild of Hypnotists. It does come with 1-year membership to the National Guild of Hypnotists. This year is their 75th year anniversary. But you'll also be certified through the NLP Institute of California in hypnosis as well. In the program, you are going to master the hypnotic process from start to finish. How do you take a client who knows nothing about hypnosis, tell them about hypnosis, walk them through, have them have a hypnosis experience, like the whole thing start to finish? You're going to learn the entire hypnotic process, how to screen, how to set up the program, everything. You're going to learn how to work with unwanted habits. This is another huge part of this hypnosis program that's very different. I spend a lot of time in this program teaching you the theory and the understanding behind these core interventions that I've done for so many years. Because if you're going to add hypnosis to what you do, this is your bread and butter. Smoking, weight loss, and stress, then maybe sports performance are the most common things people come in for. And just learning how to help people with unwanted habits is huge. Everyone's got them. Then how to create and administer effective programs that sell. So how to put them together, how to build them, how to structure them, how to deliver them. You'll need intake materials. We have that. You'll need to know how should the sessions go. You'll even want to know how should the coaching session go. And so these are things that I've been doing for years. I've got templates and scripts for that, and I show you how to do all that kind of stuff. And then I show you how to customize it. How to customize based on the personality orientation that we've been talking about tonight. There's a lot in there. There's a deep dive on the personality traits and how to work with those. And each one of these personal needs, by the way, folks, so if you're freedom or security or belonging or competency or self-expressive, there's what I call a personal needs stress cycle. So when you take on a new idea, here's the cycle, the emotional gestalt, which is a chain reaction of emotional states you go through that you'll go through when you take on something new, and it explains how most people get themselves stuck and do what we call the derail and bail. So for example, how many people here know you're competency based? right? Raise your hand if you know your competency-based. Okay, ask yourself, how many times have you taken on a goal, started working it, and you actually got results and it was working, and then all of a sudden you lost steam in it? Anyone ever have that happen? It's like actually working, you're getting results, and then all of a sudden you lose interest. That's a very predictable pattern that competency-based people go through. Freedom-based people will get FOMO. They want the option of doing something, so they'll enroll and overcommit and take on a whole bunch of things because they want the option of doing it, and then down the road find themselves resenting the opportunity, feeling trapped by it. So the very same thing that drives you to engage can flip and cause you to disengage. Why does the competency-based person lose steam? Because the reality is a lot of times what's driving you is you're trying to prove that you can lose the weight. You're trying to prove that you can go to the gym regularly. You're trying to prove that you can get the result. And once you've proven it, you now lose interest. So we know how to work with that. We know how to keep a client engaged, but these are like real things that people go through and that really happens. The last thing is how to do an evaluation that sells. I have an entire 3-day course that I'll put in there as a bonus for this, but I'm going to show you how to do an evaluation. So when you get someone who calls you up and says, hey, can you help me quit smoking, lose weight, reduce stress? Can you help me with insomnia? How to actually bring them in and how to do that evaluation in a way that legitimately positions you as the unique expert and will cause them to want to take advantage of that program with you. If anyone has questions, now's the time to ask. If you want to take a look at the professional hypnosis certification, go to nlpca.com and look at trainings and go to professional hypnosis certification. So if you are going to professionally see clients, if you want to add that to what you do, I really believe this is the best course that you can take to do that, because we saw so many people in our office. I ran 2 treatment rooms. I had an assistant run another treatment room, and we were seeing a lot of people. And so this is what I know works at scale and in a sustainable way where you can do it and not totally burn yourself out. I don't recommend you try and see like 20 people a day, but the point is that you can see a good number of people and you can get them in and get them out within an hour consistently and get really great results with people and put them in either like an 8 or a 12 session program and make it viable. I don't know about you, but my goal in life is to help people relieve unnecessary suffering. And I'm not a brain surgeon, but I can do this stuff pretty darn good. So that's what I do for a living. All right. Any other questions before we close up for tonight? Lisa?
I am a certified trauma coach. I'm just wondering how you think I could apply that to my profession.
That's a great question. So I would not do hypnosis for a trauma. I would do the NLP trauma process the way that I teach it. And I teach an advanced form of it where we were teaching that earlier today in the practitioner. I would do that. And then what I would do is I would add hypnosis in for stress reduction and habit control around their coping mechanisms for the stress and the trauma, because they're going to have them. Whenever I get a client, they've got trauma, they've got some unwanted habits around that they use to cope and self-soothe, and they've got a lot of stress and pressure. And so like in the stress reduction program, one of the hypnosis sessions I do is called Remember to Breathe. And all I'm doing in that session is setting up a monitoring system to notice when they start to go sympathetic and clutch. So I'm set up a monitoring system, notice when they tighten in the jaw, neck, and shoulders.
Yeah.
They stop, take a deep breath in, exhale slowly, and go about their day in life in a relaxed and easy fashion. So we're setting up that physical monitoring system first. The next one I layer on top of that is the mental cause of stress, which actually, folks, is judgment. You cannot get emotionally or mentally stressed unless you go into judgment, whether you're judging yourself or someone else. I've modeled this for 15 years. I don't have time to explain it now, but I promise you that's the case. You have to use good, bad, right, wrong, should have, need to, or must. You have to go into judgment to then get stressed. And so I spent a lot of years finding that little magical spot to redirect the person before they cross the point of no return. And that's what I do in End Extremism and Judgment. And then I follow up with the third session, which is called Way of Being First, which ties them all together so that no matter what's going on the outside, I'm calm and secure on the inside. So if I combine that with trauma work, the trauma work heals the trauma so the person has a chance to respond differently. But a lot of times they don't have those healthier, more effective responses built in yet, right? And they're still easily triggered. So that's where I would use it. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Julia, what's your question?
First, I just wanted to say exactly what you just said, because ever since I did the stress reduction program with you, those two recordings, the remembering to breathe and judgment, I share with everyone because I feel like life changing, going back to, again, kind of hypnosis in the moments of that like stress and headache and tension that you can't stop. Those recordings have been priceless. So my first question is, if we do this program, will we learn how to create similar, for
Yeah.
instance, recordings?
Great question.
Yeah.
That is part of your certification. So by the time you finish the program, you will have produced your first hypnosis audio program that you can then sell or distribute or use as a lead magnet to generate customers. And it will be one that will be relevant to you. So I'm going to teach you how to like construct an intervention, start to finish. So we're going to do an assessment. We're going to put together an intervention. We're then going to discuss it as a group and review it before you write the script. So then make sure you're on track and make sure you identify, here's where to tap. Here's the piece we need to shift. Once we do that and validate it, we're then going to cast that against the personal needs, number 1 and number 2, of the person you're writing it for, to further refine it.
And will we discuss, because you're excellent with wording, like I remember the structure of upset, like you quickly just created like this whole image. But for instance, I'm a little slower with creating these images. So are we going to work on wording and how to properly like construct and
there's a whole
recording?
section. Yes, there's a whole section there on the art of suggestion.
Okay.
There's a whole module in there on the art of suggestion where we're going to walk through, here's what a good suggestion includes, here's how to build it, and then it's modular, and then you build it up, and how hypnotic language works, how to use that. Yeah, and then we're going to have you practice it. We're going to give you feedback. And so by the end of it, you will have a very curated intervention for one specific piece of low-hanging fruit that you're building ideally for yourself, but then you can also use with clients, and you'll know how to modify it. So I want that'll be the final test, because it will bring everything together. You'll know how to do an intervention. You'll know how to construct a really solid suggestion. You will demonstrate your hypnotic voice and your delivery by recording it. And then you can share it with the group.
Great. Okay.
You know, or at least share it with me. I work exclusively online now. I have clients all over the world. And so I'm going to teach you how to do it online.
Okay.
And do it well online. And I do trauma work online, Lisa Marie as well. I do all of that stuff online, and I love it because remember, folks, I'm freedom. It means I can do it from anywhere in the world without restriction, limitation, and control. And I can wear my Birkenstocks if I want to, and you're not going to know. Okay. So like, I love the freedom of being able to work from anywhere in the world. And yeah, I'm right between my kids' schools, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So
thank you so much.
Yep. No problem. Any other questions, folks? Yeah, go ahead.
So you said something about coping mechanisms. One of the coping mechanisms that I deal with a lot is dissociation. Do you have any ways, can you suggest any ways what hypnosis, NLP, whatever, can be applied for dissociation?
Well, first off, okay, from an NLP standpoint, when someone is dissociating, we believe that behind every behavior is a positive intended result. So if I meet a client who's dissociating a lot, I want to discover what's the positive intention. I want to do what we call an ecology check and find out what's the function of this, how is it protecting them? And so one way to then use hypnosis to help with that is use the hypnosis to suggest a new way of accomplishing the same thing that has less unwanted side effects. So if they're dissociating because they're afraid they're going to say something they regret, and then we can give them some hypnosis to help them have more control over their words and be more thoughtful with it, perfect. Or if they're dissociating because they're afraid they're going to overreact in public, if we can help them have a bit more control over their reactions and responses, that could help. So there's a million ways to Sunday we could use the hypnosis. But if I see someone dissociated, I instantly go, you know, and this is a big difference between a therapist and a coach. And I love therapy. I use therapy. I'm pro therapy. So don't ever get me wrong on this. But a therapist,
And I'm something in between.
yeah, a therapist by law diagnoses, treats, and cures a disease, and they generally use the DSM, and they diagnose and they treat the symptoms, and that's what they're kind of supposed to do. And I know there's more to it, but to generalize that, as an NLP coach, when you come in and you tell me about your problem, because I really live by the presuppositions of NLP, behind every behavior is a positive intended result. People work perfectly to produce the results they're getting. So I don't look at you like you're broken, there's anything wrong with you. Whatever you're doing, I look at as a perfect strategy to produce the results you're currently getting. Period, end of story. And so when you tell me about your pathology, I'm doing a skill assessment. If you go, Robert, I'm just so depressed, I just can't get out of this depression, it's horrible. I go, excellent. They have an incredible internal dialogue. This person is amazing at talking to themselves in their head and convincing them of an alternative reality. If we remove the judgment from that and the content, and we just look at it like a strategy and a skill, it's amazing. That means this person will be better than the average person at convincing themselves of the new suggestion that we're going to give them, or convincing themselves of a new reality once they buy into it and have no ecology concerns with it. Cool. If someone comes in with anxiety, like, oh, I'm so anxious, I just get terrified all the time, whatever. I go, they're very good at making movies. They have a strategy for making incredible, compelling, lifelike movies that feel real, just watching them. And I go, wow, you can make these powerful movies and have this full-blown emotional reaction? That's pretty cool. I wonder what we could do with that if we put good content in that strategy. So it's just a totally different way of looking at it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sounds fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something in NLP we say every behavior is useful in some context. Like, does anyone think it's wrong to yell at your children?
Well,
What if they're about to get hit by a car? What if you're at a concert, right? It's contextual. I appreciate you all staying here. Makes me feel really good. I hope you enjoyed it. See you folks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Right, night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank